is about 6 a.m. on Christmas morning. I've been up since about 2 a.m. So it's been an interesting night thinking about some things. So stick around. I'll be back in a minute. We'll talk about this. You know, it's something like 95 days or something till opening day, so I can't wait for that. I did get a couple tickets to a Reds game in Tampa in July, so excited about that. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. As I mentioned earlier at the top of the video, Christmas morning I was up from like 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, while I was laying there awake, the air conditioner was running. Yes, we're in South Florida. The air conditioner is running in December. After it kicked off, I heard water dripping. And the unit is right outside of our bedroom in a closet. And so I got up and looked, and the line had backed up, and the little float switch that's supposed to prevent that, I guess, got stuck or something, and some water was dripping. So thankfully, I was awake to catch that disaster averted. The reason I was awake and laying there, I think, was mostly stress. So we're going to talk about some of that today. Christmas brings an abnormal amount of stress for me personally. I've never liked holidays because of this. It's like a scheduled forced interruption in my life. Christmas does not mean for most people what I think it should mean. I've always kept my faith personal and close to myself, and I don't talk too much about those things. But the stress that it brings on people to feel like they have to spend money and do things and cram it all in a short period of time if they procrastinate like I do. We grew up poor, so I felt, even though I never really needed or wanted much, I felt like there was things that, it put pressure on me to tell people what I wanted for Christmas. And I don't like birthdays. I don't like my own birthday. It just doesn't matter to me. It means a lot to Tammy, so I try to make her birthday special every year. I think the best one I did was when she turned 50. I arranged for her mom and her brother to fly up to Louisville and surprise her at work. There's a video out there we have where I showed that. So it just brings on stress for me for those reasons as a holiday. As most holidays do. I hate greeting card holidays, Valentine's Day and all these things that greeting card companies created. But the other reason I'm stressed is because of the business and work, so we'll talk about that. And then there's other stresses in life. There's personal stress, about our health and different things that go on with us and worrying about us and taking care of ourselves. Last January, Tammy had a place on her leg we thought was a scar from where she has to do those injections for her migraines. She's had to do so many injections over the years that thankfully is not nearly as bad now that we live in South Florida. But it turned out to be basal cell carcinoma, so cancer. That is, the dermatologist said, I think he told her something like, I hate to say it this way, but if you're going to have a cancer, this is the one to have, because if you let it go for like 10 years, it might turn into something. So that we had that little scare. I never really said much about it. We had Molly, our sweet golden retriever, had some issues last summer with her bladder, and she was bleeding and had some inflammation. We had to have surgery for that. And then just a couple days ago or last week, she actually had a cancerous tumor removed from her neck, and we're waiting on the results of that. She's doing great, though. She has a really big incision. They took a lot of flesh out around it and everything. But she's doing, and as Molly does, she is wonderful. And then there's the stress from finances, stress from our children, and different things that come up every day in life. And so you pile that on top of the stress for Christmas, at least for me anyway, and it makes a lot of stress. And then the other reason so stressed is because of the business. And I know last year I had such a strong focus, and was really hyped up and had a lot of momentum going, and had gotten started, and was just, I just was loving where we were at and that we were ready to go. And then the hurricane hit, everything got put on hold for several months. We eventually found new office space that was much bigger. We thought was going to be much better for what we needed. It was 5 times bigger, 5 times more expensive. Office space is not cheap in Florida, so especially South Florida. And we didn't have a whole lot of choice for what we rented. And we thought we would grow over into that extra space. We have 2 units here side by side that you guys saw me painting and everything in the videos before. And we thought by now we would be moving and growing over into that space, and that has not happened. It has not been a great year for sales in this market. And we're going to talk about why we feel that way. I made a lot of videos early on explaining to you things about how we set up the business license, the inspections we had to have, and all those things that go with getting a business off the ground. I think somebody even commented one time and said, I had no idea there was this much involved in starting a business. Physical injuries. Moving in here, I had hired a moving company to move the shelving and things that we bought. And when we were unloading the truck, it had shifted, and I was trying to help them get the weight off of the door so they could open the door. And I got my hand between the edge of the truck door and the stuff that was in the truck, and it fell back and pinned my hand. It was so hard, it was so heavy, I couldn't get my hand out. They had to come and push it so that I could squeeze my hand out. And luckily it didn't break anything. My hand was pretty sore for a couple of weeks. And then I ended up with a torn ligament, a completely torn ligament in my foot between my second and third toe. And that area is famous for some different foot injuries and inflammation and things, because that's where you step. It was right where your foot comes down. And the only thing I can think of is when I did it was I hit my foot on the table at the house one day, and I hit it, and it was like, oh my gosh, I hit it so hard. And my first thought was, I'm glad it wasn't my little toe, because I probably would have broken it. And you know how you do that, you move on. I was in here walking on it, really abusing my body and my feet all together on top of that. And after a while, I almost couldn't walk. I'm just now probably getting back my normal stride, because I kind of walked funny for so long on my foot. And, on the side of my foot, it kind of like messed up my gait. And finally went to the doctor, got an MRI, completely torn ligament. And then one day, I almost cut my thumb off with a paper cutter. We have this big guillotine paper cutter that can cut it's made for bookbinding, so it can cut like a whole ream of paper like it's nothing. And I had cut some vinyl, and when I put the handle up, it didn't latch. And so when I reached underneath, the handle kind of slowly lowered, and it cut into my thumb. Whew, that was a painful experience. But at the urgent care anyway, it was actually that bad when I did it, not anything like the urgent care situation. And so those things have been a challenge. And when people say you have to have enough money to live without a paycheck for at least a year to start a business, they're not kidding. In most cases, that's the way it is. Now, our previous companies grew really, really fast. I'd never seen or been a part of anything that grew that fast. And I think in 4 years' time, when I was leading the company, it was something like $55 million in sales in 4 years. We shipped 1 million orders in that time. And then the unfortunate situation of having to part ways and moving on. And then, this has been a lot more challenging. And it started off pretty well. I thought by the way it started, it was going to go a lot better, for the first few months. And then sales just kept declining after that. And summertime's the slowest time. And when we look at all the challenges we faced with the storm, the delays of finding office space, and then we couldn't get the office space until the 1st of February. All of those things really took the wind out of my sails to a degree. It was really tough to get the momentum back, and once we got the keys to the office, I was able to get in here, and I worked my butt off for weeks. And you guys remember the hundreds of hours that I worked the first few weeks, and ended up with an ocular migraine one day and had to go home early because I couldn't see. A lot of challenges when it came to that. But losing that momentum hurt us to a degree. And then we knew that two of the key things we felt had to happen was we needed Orifol, an Oracal product, and so mending that relationship. And they were a classy company that accepted us back in as a reseller and have been working with us. It's been a great relationship. And then I felt that the other one was, even though I feel like, I've always felt like Polytape was a better product, but the name wasn't there like Caesar. And so the other thing was to be a Caesar distributor. We were made a Caesar distributor. The guy that runs the company pulled that the day after we got our product because of my old business partner. Bad situation there. I thought it was pretty unethical. Please don't go attack them or anybody else. I have a lot of friends that still work there, but it was just very disappointing, and that caused us not to have HTV at launch. It's just a lot of things like that kept adding up, and obstacles that we kept hitting and facing, trying to overcome. And those have been very difficult challenges. So the other big challenge that we've had, and what I've figured out over time after doing more research, paying attention on social media and everything, is that Amazon in China has really cannibalized the vinyl and heat transfer vinyl market. What's happened, the company HTV Ront that you guys see, the heat press that they make, I've got one sitting over there that I play with a little bit. It's not that great of a heat press, to be honest. It's got a great design to it, but functionally I have some issues with it. Anyway, they have really hurt the market a lot by allowing China to sell directly into the U.S. market. And they're doing it, Amazon has gone through some shifts over the past 25 years or so. Initially, they were, a bookstore. They started selling more things. For a while, I felt that they were hurting small businesses because they were taking a lot of investment money, operating at a loss, and kind of using that to put other people out of business. Then they became a marketplace for small businesses, and a lot of people have done really well on Amazon. And now that has shifted back to hurting small businesses in the U.S. again by the way they're doing things. And so when I went up to Printing United in October, I went up with this one big goal was to have several conversations with different manufacturers and find out what their take on that situation was. And what I've learned is that Amazon is apparently bringing these products over on Amazon ships and storing it in Amazon facilities, and they have some kind of deal with customs where they don't have to pay tariffs until it leaves the facility. So they're almost bringing the stuff over here risk-free. And then on top of that, for a lot of this stuff, the Chinese government is subsidizing with printed money to purposely hurt our markets. And it's a really difficult thing to deal with. When they are selling, we have minimum advertised price for a couple of our products, and they are selling their product on Amazon 5 to 6 times lower than I'm even allowed to advertise it for. So that's really, really challenging to compete with. Even though you have a far superior product, in my opinion, I have some of the HTV Ront stuff here, and in my opinion, it works well. It works easy. It's probably for the most part as well. Application goes smooth and everything, but to me, it feels like a big piece of rubber on the shirt compared to other products. But people were paying 5 or 6 times less for it, so that's what they're using. And I started paying attention to some of these big Facebook groups. There's these big SVG file sharing groups out there that are, I believe they're run mostly by people in foreign countries, because they all have like 500,000 people. They leave the groups public, so there are a lot of scam posts in there and everything. But what they do is they use those groups to try to get people to pay them to do designs for them. So someone will say, "Can someone make this?" And they'll private message them, say, "Hey, I'll do it for $3 or whatever it is." And so I started paying a lot of attention in those groups. And no matter what you say, what you show, how you do it, these people are just convinced that's what's the best thing to use, because it is so cheap. And when we first started out, if we had that kind of product that was that kind of price, we may have gone down that path too. I don't know. And so then it becomes a question of, do you try to beat them or join them, or do you go a different direction? And I don't really want to join them. I don't want to sell that kind of stuff. You guys know me, I have a lot of things that are produced in China. I'm not anti-China. I'm anti-poor quality and anti-China hurting our businesses by selling directly into our markets by doing this and Temu and some of those things that where they're selling directly to the American consumers, but they're, like I said, they're being subsidized by the Chinese government, because there's no way some of these things they can make money by selling on Amazon that way at those prices. It's just not possible. So those have been some of the big challenges. And I want to make sure that to this point I thank everyone for their support, whether that support's been moral support or financial support by buying products or subscribing to our subscription services and taking our courses, things like that. I can't express how much your support means to us, regardless of what kind of support that is. We need more financial support, of course, like every business, but hopefully going into the new year, we're going to see some things change and turn around. We have shifted gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about that over the next couple of days and some of the things we're doing. We started another company to actually produce finished goods kind of in parallel with this, and make the use of our space, the goods that we have, and expanding out into some other areas. So we'll be talking more about that. And I'll probably be looking at some of the other selling channels, and exploring and showing you what we find, whether it's selling on TikTok Shop, Etsy, maybe Walmart.com or something, depending on what we see across all those channels, and see what we can explore and maybe do a little better. We're looking for a smaller office space now. We'll see what comes of that. We have a lease here, so they have to find a tenant to take over this space before we can get out of the lease and move to a smaller space. And then once they find a tenant, and I expect that activity to pick up after the first of the year. Nobody really does much at Christmas, but once they find a tenant and we have 30 days or 60 days to get out or whatever it's going to be, hopefully we'll be able to find a space that's available that fits our needs. If not, we're going to have some challenges to figure out what to do moving forward. But we'll keep you guys updated on that, and let you know where things are headed. With being able to do DTF prints now. Also, we just launched this weekend custom DTF prints, so I'll be doing some videos and tutorials on those things. A lot more content and videos coming, hopefully. That's my goal. I know that you guys have probably been disappointed in the content the past few months, or lack of content. And it's because I've been so busy trying to run the business, trying to grow it, market it, doing the research and testing, getting the DTF printer up and running, and being here late at night, and all these things that just prevent me from making that content and getting those additional courses out there. I am going to get more courses out there for you guys. The next one's going to be Photoshop. I'm saying it because I'm going to force myself to do it, and that's going to put a little pressure on me to get those things done. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging still. Hopefully you guys will enjoy seeing what I'm doing, because I think I'm doing some pretty cool stuff on our website that we have, the new company. So it's called Treeline Customs. So when you get a moment, go check out treelinecustoms.com. Look us up on Facebook and like our page and follow it and everything, and you'll start to see some of the things we're posting and selling and offering, and some of the things we're doing it, because we're going to offer some things that we don't do in-house. We're going to outsource some of that, but offer those as services, because there's a lot of service businesses here that need things like shirts and hats and business cards and rack cards, all those things that small businesses need. So we're going to be going down that path again, and kind of going back to where we started in to a degree, only we have a lot more knowledge, a lot more capability now. So, but stay tuned. Hopefully we're going to, this is, I don't like New Year's resolutions. I'm like, my neighbor told me the other day she was going to quit smoking, and I said, well, on the first, and I said, why not now? So it's not a New Year's resolution or anything like that. It's just that we have some changes to make. We have to get the new company off the ground and try to grow bulkvinyl.com at the same time. So we're going to ask you guys to come along for the ride again for that. And hopefully these will be things that you will enjoy learning as well, because I suspect that many of you will want to, you want exposure to some of these things, and you want to sell some things. Maybe you don't know where to start. You don't know, you're afraid of Etsy fees that people talk about that are not really that bad when you really look at it. But anyway, so again, looking forward to opening day here in about 3 months, a little bit, 3+ months, and hopefully the weather's going to clear up. It's been unseasonably cool here in South Florida this December. It's more like last January than December. And today it's kind of rainy and nasty out there, so hopefully that'll clear up. And by the way, yes, I'm in a t-shirt and shorts. I was talking about air conditioning running and all that, and you guys are going to say, hey, it's 23 degrees here or whatever it is. You got to remember, people in Florida don't care how cold it is where you are. It doesn't help us any. It's chilly down here at 50 degrees, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's the best place. The weather is just amazing, and we're enjoying it. Quick update on the area, though. The area is doing really well after the storm last year. It's been about 15 months now. The beaches, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Pine Island, it's going to take years for a lot of things to recover over there. There's a video on my Facebook page I shared back right around it's right around October 1st if you want to go look at it. This guy had driven around Fort Myers Beach with a dash cam at some point before the storm. Well, then he went back after they opened the bridge up. I think it was in December last year, and he drove the same path, and then he put the video over top of the other one and synchronized the position. So there's parts where it fast forwards and things, but it tries to keep in the same path that he drove originally, and it is devastating to watch. It is just unbelievable. But a lot of businesses are open. The area's starting to thrive again, and right now traffic is really bad because all the snowbirds are down here. So hopefully if we find a new office, we'll be a little bit closer to home, because this drive over here, it's only like 7 miles, but if it's in this morning wasn't bad, of course, but on normal days, it's 20-30 minutes to get here, and that's going the opposite way of rush hour traffic. Wow, it's crazy. Anyway, just wanted to bring you an update. Wish you a Merry Christmas. New Year's coming, and we're going to keep doing videos and content. Try to get that back off the ground. I do have some more products to add to the site that you'll start to see pop on there over the next few days, hopefully, and we'll see what we can do. And hopefully you guys got things like EcoTank printers that you need sublimation ink for, and heat presses that you want DTF transfers for, all of those things. So if you have any questions, comment, post them down below the video, and we'll be back and show you some more things that we're doing, what we're working on real soon. Hey folks, I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone for the love, kindness, and support that you've provided to Tammy and I over the past several years. It's been almost 10 years, believe it or not, been 8.5 years since we bought our first Cricut, so we're almost a decade into new careers for both of us. So when you buy great products like Orcal 651, Thermoflex, heat transfer vinyl, DPI sub, premium sublimation ink, blanks, any of those things that you buy from our site help support us and our employees families. Don't forget about about our subscription and membership, which gives you access to our e-learning courses and also significant discounts on product purchases as well. So if you like our videos and everything we do, click the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And when you do, click the bell next to it so that you'll get notified when I publish new videos. And then in the video description, there's also links to all of our Facebook groups, our Facebook pages. So joining those groups, liking our pages, leaving us reviews helps us out immensely. And we thoroughly enjoy every minute of this journey along this path with you to bring love, kindness, and hope to the world using your crafting hobby or small business, whether it's been in person, on the phone, or through social media.